Now let's talk about CloudFront. CloudFront is a content delivery network, or CDN, so anytime you see CDN at the exam, think CloudFront. It improves the read performance by caching the content of your website at the different edge locations. And because your content is cached all around the world, then your users all around the world will have a lower latency, and this will improve the user experience. CloudFront is made of 216 points of presence globally, which correspond to the AWS edge locations around the world, and AWS keeps on adding locations to improve user experience even further everywhere. On top of it, by having the content distributed globally, we are getting DDoS protection. So DDoS is a sort of attack where all your servers around the world are getting attacked at the same time. We'll see this later on in this course. And the idea is that CloudFront, because your application is worldwide, then you're protected against these attacks, also using something called Shield and Web Application Firewall that we will be seeing in the security section. So if we want to look at a map of the world, these are the map, and we see some edge locations as well as edge caches. And so say we had created an S3 bucket and a website on our S3 bucket in Australia, but we had a user maybe in America. Then what the user will do is that it will request the content from an American edge location using CloudFront, and CloudFront will be able to fetch the content from Australia. Now, if another user in the US will be requesting the same content, then it will be served directly from the edge, and it will not go all the way to Australia to serve that content. Same if a user is in China, then we'll be talking to a Chinese point of presence and then redirected to the S3 bucket, and then the content will be cached at the edge. CloudFront has several types of origins. For example, you have S3 buckets, which is used to distribute files and cache them at the edge using CloudFront. And to guarantee that only CloudFront can access your S3 buckets, you can use something called the Origin Access Control, OAC, which is replacing the older Origin Access Identity, OAI. CloudFront can also be used as a way to send data into an S3 bucket, so to upload data to file to S3, which is called an ingress. You can have CloudFront as well instead in front of any custom Origin HTTP backend. So that could be an application balancer, that could be an EC2 instance, an S3 website, but first you must enable the bucket as a static S3 website, or really any HTTP backend you want. So at a high level, how does CloudFront work? We have the edge location all around the world, okay? And then it will be connecting to your origin. So would it be an S3 bucket or an HTTP server? And when the client connects and does an HTTP request into your edge location, then the edge location will see if it has it in the cache. If it doesn't have it in the cache, then it will go to the origin to get the request result. And then once it retrieves the result, it will be caching it into a local cache so that if another client requests the same content from the same edge location, then the edge location does not need to go to the origin. So if we have S3 as an origin, then if we look at the cloud, your S3 bucket is your origin in some region, and then you have edge locations all around the world, for example, at Los Angeles, and your users accessing the edge location in Los Angeles will get their content directly served through the edge location, but first the edge location will get it from the origin S3 bucket through the private network, and the S3 bucket will be secured using an origin access control and by modifying the S3 bucket policy on the S3 bucket. So this is the same when we have a user in Sao Paulo, for example, in Brazil. Again, will be another edge location, which will be serving users close to Brazil. And then it will be a private connection between your edge location and your S3 bucket, and so on. So using CloudFront and the edge locations, we can see that the content of our S3 bucket in one region can be distributed all around the world through the edge locations or points of presence. So one question that's common is, what is the difference between CloudFront and something like S3 replication? Well, if you have CloudFront, you're using the global edge network, so this is about 216 points of presence, and the files are going to be cached in each edge location, maybe for a day. So this is amazing if you have static content that must be able to be available everywhere around the world. S3 cross-region replication is different. It must be set up for each region you want replication to happen, so this is not for every region in the world. And then files are going to be updated in near real time, so there's no caching that happens, and it is only for read-only. And so this is great if you have dynamic content that needs to change all the time and be available at low latency in a few regions. So they serve very different purposes. CloudFront is a CDN, which is to cache content all around the world, whereas S3 cross-region replication is to really replicate an entire bucket into another region. So hopefully that makes sense about CloudFront. In the next lecture, we'll have a play and see how we can set up a CloudFront distribution on the cloud for an S3 bucket. So we'll see you in the next lecture.